Well, how's it going, everybody? I'm Jeff Slickey here at the Mason County Sheriff's Office, talking to Sheriff Ryan Spurling, thanks to our great friends at our Community Credit Union. How you doing? Happy holidays.
Merry Christmas.
Merry
Happy
Christmas.
New Year, all that good stuff.
Seeing you all over the place at the Belfair Parade and the Shelton Parade, and the weather had been holding, and it was packed these last couple of weeks.
Oh, they were great parades. I'd love to see the community coming out and hearing people say, you know, this is small town America.
Oh, yeah.
We all show up, we all enjoy, we have fun, we celebrate the different businesses and entities, and there was great turnout. Super excited.
I love seeing all the kids singing in the choirs before the tree lighting ceremony, and then you and Chief Kostad from Shelton walking down Railroad with the Grinch there.
In handcuffs.
Showing off,
like that.
showing off all the great things. You may have seen the big white new incident command truck both at the Belfair Parade and in the Shelton Parade. That was helped with funds raised by Charlie's Vision, who has just been integral to the Sheriff's Office.
It has been a great thing for our agency, and the thing you need to understand about that command post is if we have a major incident, it has all that we need to be able to sustain an operation and have the tools that we need, including a bathroom, if we're out there on a search or any kind of major incident. And it's going to be a very integral part as we go forward to provide better services to our community.
So let's kind of start there with budget funding, things like that. We had recently the legislative send-off that the Shelton Mason County Chamber puts on, and it's an opportunity for us to hear from our state senator, Drew McEwen, and our two House representatives in the 35th, Travis Couture and Dan Griffey, on what they're looking at as they move into Olympia this upcoming session, but also an opportunity for us to tell them what they should be keyed in on. What are some of the priorities in law enforcement, either in the 35th and Mason County or statewide, that you'd like to see move forward or advance this year?
Well, I haven't taken a look at all the new proposals, but I know that there's some great concerns for the Washington State Sheriffs, is that there's an organization out there trying to take away the citizens' ability to elect their sheriff and to keep their sheriff in its seat. So basically what they're trying to do is to give the Criminal Justice Training Center the authority to do backgrounds before anybody can even apply for sheriff. And then if they are a sheriff, and if for some reason the criminal justice estate or run organization didn't think that the sheriff was doing the job right, they could remove the elected official. So they're trying to move that type of stuff forward, which is a great concern for all the sheriffs, because the sheriffs are the only elected law enforcement officials in the world, which gives the citizens the authority to control over who they have as their sheriff. An example is down in Pacific County, they were so dissatisfied this last 2 years ago, the election, with the current sheriff that they had and the lack of services that they got. The citizens voted in a person who had never been in law enforcement to be a sheriff, Daniel Garcia, and he's working down there as a sheriff and doing a good job from what we can see.
Wow. So in that kind of a situation, a just general citizen of the community, if they have to go through this background certification training, all of this stuff through this centralized organization, how would that even work?
Well, there's already laws in place that if you get elected as a sheriff, you have to go through the Law Enforcement Basic Academy within the first year, which is what Daniel did. So, and we're all for qualifications, much like whether it be a prosecutor or a judge, there should be qualifications for you to have that much authority, and it should be regulated. But we're not real big favor of taking away the authority from the citizens of Mason County, for example, if they're not satisfied with what I do, to elect a new person in, or if they are satisfied that somebody else can't take me out of that. Just like you don't have other elected officials removed by a state organization unless they go through the normal process for elected officials.
Wow.
So that's something that we're a little bit concerned about as an association, the Washington State Sheriff's Association.
And kind of also, as I kind of think about it and been to the various sheriff breakfasts over the years with you, kind of hearing about things across the state, every county kind of has a unique makeup.
Yes.
And there are some counties that the sheriff chooses to do things within the law, but focus on different priorities when it comes to what is their specific needs for their county that they're representing from what they heard from their constituents.
Absolutely. And the sheriffs take that seriously. You know, that's one of the reasons I have 4 different community meetings throughout the county, one of them being out there at the Oyster Bank in Hoodsport, because it's really important for me to know what my citizens are concerned about, what are their issues, because I work for the citizens. I'm an elected official just like the commissioners, just like the auditor, others. Whereas if you take that away from the people, then it's going to be like in King County. The King County sheriff is appointed by the commissioners,
right,
or their version of the commissioners.
Wow. Anything else kind of that you've been hearing that may be a nationwide push that could work to be adopted, or kind of rollback of any of the other laws that had been in the books that hamstrung you in any sort of way?
Well, you know, we have that initiative that rolled back what the legislature had done with the pursuits.
Yeah.
So we'll see how that goes this year. And there are other things. The initiative process has been interesting. The big thing is our citizens are tired of being victimized. And we'll see. The governor-elect, one of his campaign speeches said that his big thing was to get us from being the last 14 years in a row, the last in the United States of the number of officers per 1,000 citizens. He says he's going to fix that. So hopefully he'll follow through with that. And hopefully we'll see more officers in Washington State.
Well, when it comes to those types of metrics, that kind of moves me into the next thing I wanted to ask about. I had heard through some of my friends in the jail and the corrections facilities that their contracts had gone through, and based on the 5 comparable counties, not necessarily the closest of the counties to Mason, but the 5 comparable based on population density, they were able to secure new contracts and move them up to second in the comparables. And that's got to be a big sigh of relief, not only for the workers there, but also you when you look at staffing and things like that.
It's rather interesting in Washington State. A lot of our correctional facility corrections deputies have felt undervalued.
Sure.
Because the state is in a bit of a crisis as far as getting people, because right now we are the largest mental health facility, the largest substance abuse facility, and that's not what they're trained to do. Right. They're trained to incarcerate and keep them safe while they're incarcerated. And it's a tough place to work, and people don't see it. It's not like out on the streets with the patrol deputies. So for them to have a good contract negotiated by our commissioners recognized the crisis that we were in, and they did a lot of work. And I just kudos on our commissioners and Mark Neary, our county manager, and Mary from Human Resources to negotiate a good contract. And that happened on the patrol side as well. And that's big for retention. Now, we can't compete with our big tax-based Kitsap County, Pierce County, and Thurston County, because they're just bigger counties. We can't compete with their prices or their pay, but we can get closer, and we're less likely to lose them because we've got a lot of things that they don't. And the biggest one is a community that supports them. A great organization, and our commissioners have worked really hard to prevent us from losing more people because they're getting paid poorly.
Yeah, I've heard that, and through some of the talks that you've given, and then just kind of in general, people, you know, they want to be felt as though they're seen and taken care of in a financial way, but a lot of times they can forego a percentage here and there when it comes to the community, the quality of life, the extracurriculars, if you will, of a county like Mason.
Yeah,
pretty
cool.
Cool.
We've got a lot of things that those big counties can't offer, and a lot of that is just a community that supports them, a more family environment than the bigger agencies. And our commissioners did a great job managing the funds through COVID, whereas other counties surrounding us are in a bit of trouble right now. Ours is not, because they prepared for it and they did it correctly.
One of the things here, you know, it's darker now because it's winter time and we're getting close to Christmas, and those Amazon boxes, those Amazon deliveries are coming. They're stopping almost at every house, delivering things. Let's talk a little bit about what folks can do to protect themselves, and then also at what scenario is it appropriate to call 911 versus setting a message into the new response on the website?
Online reporting, yeah. I just sat down with our CSO yesterday and took a look at what it looks like on our end on that portal, and that's moving forward. We've had about 30 online reports, and it's a good program, and there's some bugs that we're still working out, but it's really, I think, going to be a great asset and free up our deputies to do other things and get people their case number right away. Now, let's go to package thefts. That's what you were kind of leading to start with. Make sure the area where they normally drop it is well lit. If you've got a camera, put a camera on it. Make the effort to look at tracking. When should it be delivered? And if you can't be there, ask your neighbor that you trust to keep an eye out. Those are things that you can do. And that's the big thing that we as a society need to continue to improve on. And I love seeing it in our parades. Getting people out, knowing your community, knowing your neighbors, know who should be in your neighborhood, and watch out for each other, because there may be somebody there. You're not able to be there. Give them a text, give them a call and say, hey, could you be watching for this package? Those are things that we can do to help prevent those type of package thefts. We haven't had a tremendous amount of them here, and I hope we don't.
Yeah. One thing too, and you see it, like I have cameras around my house, and we'll get the notification if there's movement or this and that. And a lot of times this time of the year, it's false triggers by the wind or something like that. But it's important to, like you said, if you know the package should be delivered between 2:30 and 3:30, and you start to see notifications, take the time to actually check during those times to see. And if you see the package there, and then all of a sudden you're getting another notification, maybe that's a chance for you to log in and see what's going on, not just blow it off as if the inflatable Santa moved in front of the camera or something like that.
Right. And you asked about whether that was appropriate for an online reporting. If it's in progress, you pull it up on your phone and it's going, call 911, because that's an in-progress call. That's not the appropriate time to go on to online reporting. Now, if it happened hours and hours and hours ago and you don't know who the suspect is, then you can go on to online reporting. And it'll walk you through and kick you off if you need to get a hold of a deputy. But the other thing is too, don't just not report it, because maybe there's others in the area and it's a trend or something that we see a pattern, then we can hopefully get in front of it, because we want to be more proactive.
Yeah, I was just going to ask you about that. It is important whether or not you go, well, the person may need this more than I. That's not the point of this. It's for you to have a record of what's happening and maybe build a case towards a larger group of individuals. Are you still seeing, when it comes to out-of-county people coming in, and we've had stories over the years of folks coming in from different counties and committing crimes or whatever and going back and forth and using the county line as their buffer there. Where is that happening? Is that still happening?
Just happened this week.
Oh.
Car was stolen up in the SeaTac area, brought down here and smashed into 2 of our marijuana shops and stole product.
I did hear about that. I saw that on Facebook. So what happened there? They backed in. I saw a post that said, there's a backed into the thing or something. Law enforcement.
Well, they broke into 2 of them, one in the Belfair area and one down here. So it was targeted, and they stole the vehicle, and they used the vehicle to smash into the facility, to open it up, to break in, and then stole the product out of there. It's still being investigated. Wow. But that still happens. That's what happens when you're surrounded by at least 1.3 million people in bigger counties, and they know that there's less law enforcement here.
Talk to me then a little bit about where you always see Smokey and the Bandit or something like that, right? They get to the county line and the sheriffs, they have to stop or whatever. How does the communication work to pass that case or pass that pursuit on to the next person?
That actually in Washington State's a little different. At the beginning of each year, each county sheriff gets a list of every law enforcement agency in the state. And because the way the laws have been written in recent years in Washington State, I check, for example, here in Mason County, I check the box of every agency that I'm giving authority to come into our county and to commit law enforcement, especially now fresh pursuit allows them to, if it's a fresh pursuit. But outside of that, they still can. If there's an agency that I don't trust and I don't think they're doing it right, I wouldn't mark that box and allow them to come in. But it gives general authority over the whole state, so it's a little different than in some of those. And other states still have some of that.
Wow. Okay. I think finally, I mean, if you have any statistics or crime numbers or the decrease that you want to share, or take this time to give some kudos to some of this office staff here who, once again, may not be seen on a daily basis, but do a lot of the yeoman's work to keep the office running.
Well, the sheriff's office does a lot more than just being on patrol. You know, obviously the jail is a small city. Those jailers and our control room operators work tirelessly. It's open 365 days a year, 24 hours a day. It is a small city. All the laundry, all the feeding, all the medicines, all of the other things that you would imagine of running a small apartment or whatever, with everybody in there having being taken care of. It's very involved, and there's support staff over there to do all the paperwork and the warrants, working with the courts, working with the clerk's office, and then we have support staff here and clerks that work with that. All of them just do a great job to serve our community, and I'm blessed to have them.
The other day we were talking and listening to the public defender, and I'm not sure how that all shook out when it came to what Washington
We're still waiting.
Still waiting on that. But are you concerned at all about the ability or bandwidth of prosecutors or public defenders to be able to bring these cases in a quick manner or get them through the books faster for you?
Absolutely concerned, because if the Washington State Supreme Court adopts the recommendations that were put in front of them, then that, again, the estimation is 1/4 of the cases that we're allowed to send forward for prosecution right now, only 1/4 would be allowed because of the public defender's restrictions. They have that point system or a credit system.
Yeah.
So it would really reduce Prosecutor Dorsey's ability to prosecute, and he would have to pick and choose, which is going to change a lot of things for us, because it's going to be more of that catch and release, even more than we have now. In the past, it's been jail space, jailers. Now it's going to come from a different angle with the prosecution and defense. So yeah, there's a lot of concerns and a lot of unanswered questions as of yet.
So this little background, if you hadn't heard about this is kind of some recommendations that came out of the state of Oregon when it came towards moving a different model here in Washington State. The State Supreme Court is looking at this now, and like you mentioned, and we heard from Peter Jones, who's the Mason County Public Defender, currently if you had a jaywalking, that would be 1 credit, 1 point. If you had a murder, it might be up to 10 credits or 10 points. And the defenders are going to be, if this goes through, capped at a certain level, at maybe just 50 points, for example. So you can do the quick math there. If there are 5 murder cases that need to be defended by a public defender, the 6th one, there wouldn't have that bandwidth. They wouldn't have the ability to do that. Did I get that kind of right there?
Yeah, it's a little more complicated than that, but that's a good sketch. Absolutely.
Yeah. So you can also learn more about that through the state Supreme Court websites, any sort of public defender, Washington website information. And again, it goes back to some of the things that were happening down in Oregon. So we're keeping our eyes on that one for sure as well. I'm going to let you go with that.
All
Some
right.
good information here as we wrap up the new year. Again, Merry Christmas to you, your
Merry
family,
Christmas.
and the staff here.
Yes.
It's always nice seeing them out and about. Great representation at the parades again.
And thank you for all your work on the parade.
Yeah,
it's always
I love
nice
it.
having you guys up there.
I love doing it.
Gosh, the Hansons and all the work that everything is done, Festival of the Furs,
Yeah.
the Christmastown Kiwanis, that's what makes our community such a great place.
Well, and then seeing the law enforcement presence in not like a scary presence. You know, they're friendly and they're laughing and they're jovial and they're walking up and down the streets and everybody's interacting, and it just puts the regular citizenry, I think, at peace, and it keeps the ne'er-do-wells, away, because they know that you guys are here and you're not gonna.
We're all part of the community.
Yeah.
We're all citizens in this community, trying to make it the best we can. And as everybody should be.
That's awesome. So thanks to our partners at our Community Credit Union, huge supporters of law enforcement, not only in the county, but in all the counties that they serve, for helping us to present these conversations to you. And we'll be back in 2025 to learn a little bit more.
Wow, already.
Already. It's like the future.